What's going on, y'all? I'm here to talk about the buffs and changes. Yes, you heard me. Buffs and changes I've made for Fluttermain in my ROM hack. So I just want to get this straight out of the way because I know for a fact all sorts of, competitively brained players, both singles and doubles players alike, are going to see this and absolutely lose their minds. Why would you buff Fluttermain? Pixelate, Hyper Voice, Boom Burst, what is this guy smoking? I understand if this is your very first impression of this ROM hack. It is a ROM hack where every single Pokemon is heavily reworked and reimagined, and I give every single Pokemon cool new tools to work with, and the power levels are obviously much higher. Not to say that this isn't incredibly strong, it is, but it's not extremely out of the ordinary. It is so logically, Fluttermane's whole thing is, I mean, Mischievous' whole thing is about screaming. It's like a banshee, right? So Fluttermane takes that up even higher, which is why actually I don't think it doesn't get Boomburst naturally, even though it totally should. Although comp players are like, why would you, Terra normal Boomburst? Oh my god! But anyway, this is not what this is balanced around. So Boomburst is level 100, all right. I also don't want people to hyperfixate on the pixelate Boomburst. Yes, it's a funny button, I get it. As you can see on the screen, it's also nerfed. It's 144 with Pixelate, which is obviously still incredibly powerful. And then of course you've also got your big Hyper Beam button and other stuff. Hyper Voice 114 power. That's what you're gonna be rocking with for most of the game. All right, if you want to use his Pixelate, is Hyper Voice. Photosynthesis is also obviously great still, and Levitate is very good to switch to when you have infinite ability capsules to be able to change your abilities whenever you need to. So you can slap on Levitate when you need the immunity. Otherwise, you don't use it. So here is a quick flash of Mischievous and Mismagius. Their buffs are, in my opinion, much more interesting. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a huge fan of Fluttermane. I think they're really boring. Obviously, that doesn't stop me from giving them, cool stuff to work with. They are like the most, I guess, Unga oriented of all of them. But even Mismagius has like that eerie spell throat spray stuff, which is incredibly strong as well, giving them +2 in one turn. And they're also not that much slower, and they have good dual stab as well. So it's up to you which of the three you want to use. It's based on your personal preferences. You can watch the video for Mischievous and Mismagius more in depth to understand how they work, but the general summary is they've got Energy Shield for that defensive utility, they've got Prankster, they've got Sixth Sense for some utility Hypnosis and other coverage moves. So that's all super good. And very fun to use. And not to mention the typing being different. Fluttermane doesn't resist Psychic and Poison, while Mismagius does. Da 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 da. Mischievous is much bulkier, but it is a good amount slower and weaker. So it's up to you which one you want to use, really. I would personally prefer Mischievous any day over Fluttermane. I think it's got way more cool tools, but Fluttermane's still cool. And of course, it is fun. You do get some serotonin from clicking like Pixelate Hyper Beam, for example. Cures depression. Click that shit. It's fun. It's fun, especially on something so fast. You can just click buttons. Yes, I understand the appeal of it. It's just not for me necessarily. I like them to be a little bit more multi-dimensional. Not that Fluttermane isn't. It can do utility stuff, of course. It still has all the utility moves that Mischievous has, and of course, it doesn't have Prankster, but it's still very fast. However, you have to keep in mind that 135 speed in a ROM hack like this, where you're not guaranteed a plus speed nature, and all the eggs have 20 speed IVs, you're only hitting, quote unquote, only hitting 358, which is, I know for a fact that's like, I believe 113. Yeah, you're outspeeding 113 in base speed Pokemon and below, which is definitely not bad. That's very good even. It's just not as absurdly fast as you might think, which is why you're going to be using Photosynthesis, Quark Drive, or In the Sun a good amount as well. I also slapped on stuff like Blizzard and Snowscape because technically, I didn't even bother formatting this right. I know Snowscape and Rain Dance are technically new moves on Fluttermane, but they get them all as a result of Mischievous, because they evolved for Mischievous now, and Mischievous gets those moves, so Fluttermane does as well. You could also, in theory, delay to get early Boomburst, but like, don't fucking do that. I mean, you could. You have to wait 12 levels after evolving, keep Mischievous until 52, and then get Boomburst early. I might have to change that at some point. I don't know. It's very brainless, and I would argue it's not allowed, but it is technically allowed. So I don't know. Use your own discretion if you want to do that. But yeah, Mr. Fluttermane has some really cool stuff. So I did give them funny Draconic voice. I think that'd be really cool if you pulled Terra Dragon, specifically. I just think it's cool. It's a 120 power, no drawback move, right? Keep in mind, by the way, Throat Spray. That is horrifying on these guys. That's definitely, like, if you get plus speed Fluttermane, Throat Spray goes insane. Even just with, like, Battle Cry or Draconic Voice and all this other stuff, let alone, Hyper Voice and Boom Burst late game. You've also got Ancient Force, which all of the past Paradox Pokemon have. It's Judgment. It's pretty good coverage, although this thing already gets good coverage, so you don't really need to use it that much. And it also takes up your item slot, which can be a big deal in a ROM hack like this, but it's not a big, of course it can be useful for strong coverage moves if you need it. You've got your Astral Storm, that's like Wicked Blow variant. You've got Radiant Outburst, Spectral Beam, those are like Draco Meteor variants. So yes, people are, oh my god, Fluttermane, Ghost Draco Meteor, what is he smoking? I get it, if you are new here, but hopefully all my returning viewers are 5 minutes in by now. Leave a comment down below, by the way, if you're new here. I also didn't show the description this time, I don't think. So if you made it 5 minutes in and you are a new viewer, first of all, I appreciate you very much listening this far in. Make sure you're subbed if you're not. And then second of all, yeah, a lot of links are in the description. You can read information about the hack. I don't know if I said that already. I'm losing, honestly. Sometimes it all blurs together when I bulk record, so I don't know. Yeah, this thing's got fast hypnosis too. You can run wide lens with that. You've got eternal beam, which is stronger than hyper voice with pixelate, and of course allows you to use photosynthesis or levitate. Of course, it also deals recoil, but recoil is pretty easy to maneuver around in game, so it's not a huge drawback. It is a drawback, but it's not a huge one. So yeah, eternal beam is really strong. Astral storm later on. That's all like end game shit, right? So level 100 is essentially all of the Elite Four, Jita, Nimona, and Sadatoro. That's it. So that's all you're having Boom Burst for. Of course, Hyper Voice and other shit goes crazy until then. Hyper Voice in general is very strong. Eternal Beam is very strong. You can also abuse the hell out of Meteor Beam. So, for example, if you set the sun up beforehand and you switch your Flutter main in and you get the booster speed and then you click Powered Meteor Beam, now you're just killing everything. You can also do the same thing with Throat Spray, of course. So Meteor Beam powered isn't as impressive when you have Throat Spray, Hyper Voice, Pixelate, but you can't use Hyper Voice Pixelate with Stab and get Photosynthesis at the same time. And again, you're going to want that speed boost sometimes because while 113 base speed is fast and all, it's not like, outspeeding everything. So definitely, if you need that extra speed for a certain boss fight to outspeed a specific Pokemon, then you'll slap on Photosynthesis. You can also use Proto Special Attack or even Proto Special Defense. So the beautiful thing about Teamlocked is it will force you to use your Pokemon in ways you might not immediately assume them to be used, which is why I give them so many cool utility options and other fun tools and abilities, and the fact that you can customize your EVs and your ability slots whenever you want. So even Flutter main, something that looks very straightforward, can still be used very good defensively because of that good SPDF stat, because of stuff like Battle Cry, for example, Battle Cry dropping attack and special attack. They also have access to Parting Shot, which again, I know, I should have said that at the beginning, but I know for a fact like VGC brained people are going to see that and lose their fucking mind. Imagine if Flutter main had Pixelate Boom Burst and Parting Shot in the real games. It would be unnerfed Boom Burst as well. Would be absolutely, hilarious and horrible and very uncompetitive, but again, that's not a concern here. But yeah, Parting Shot is very good. It fits very well, especially on Mischievous. They're all mischievous, and they play tricks, and they yell at things because they're a Banshee, and Flutter main is also a Banshee, so Parting Shot fits very well as a TM. I like it a lot. And yeah, Draconic Voices, because they are supposed to be based on a ghostly pterosaur, I think is what the text says, right? They're like a pterodactyl pterosaur. Oh my god. Flutter main, there we go. Yeah, ghostly pterosaur. So, some dragon move there is a cute little tech. I don't know. If you got Terra Dragon, I think it'd be really fun early on. 120 power move, no drawback, is super strong at level 40. So, even then for coverage, but you have Fairy Stab, so it's not. For certain dual type dragon types, maybe. I don't know. A fucking. Are there any dual types that are? Yeah, Dragon Poison. If you want to hit a Dragon Poison type. And you don't want to hit Psychic, then you can hit him with that Draconic Voice. I don't know. But yeah. I've covered pretty much everything that I want to talk about. It's very straightforward, very simple. I would honestly recommend listening to if you haven't already, listening to the Mischievous and Miss Magius video. Those are much more interesting because they're a lot more multi-dimensional. But even in this case, you still have, fast Encore, fast Disable, Draining Kiss with good SPDF, tons of debuffing moves alongside Battle Cry. You can even use like Trick Room, Parting Shot stuff. You've got all types of utility you can still abuse, Will-O-Wisp, etc. Because of that move relinner, you have so much more flexibility with how you can build your Mons. You can also do like a Jetpack, Radiant Outburst, and Spectral Beam. If you're watching this straight after the Miss Magius video, I know it can be repetitive, so I appreciate you listening regardless, but I don't know, man. It's all pretty straightforward. It's a very simple buffs and changes overall. Obviously I didn't give it any extra special stats because it doesn't need them. And I don't really think it needs. I just don't like them on it. I don't know. So I just gave it plus 10 everything else because all of the other paradoxes are 600 BST, and of course in VGC that 65-65 versus 55-55 makes a huge difference because one-shotting it is harder, of course, but that's not a big deal here. It will be helpful though for the player, getting that little bit of extra bulk is nice. You've got your debuffing moves like Battle Cry, so the extra bulk is nice. It's appreciated, but it's not like anything game-changing or groundbreaking. Yeah, I would say Throat Spray is super crazy. Booster speed is crazy. In the sun, it's crazy. It's got good utility, good immunities. With Levitate, Ghost Fairy, it's immune to Dragon, Fighting, Normal, and Ground. That's 4 immunities. That's fucking huge. So, of course, Mischievous shares that same trait, but it's still worth mentioning nonetheless. Yeah, if you made it to the end, shout out to you. I appreciate it. There's a couple other things I could touch on, but I trust that you guys can look it all up yourself or look into it yourself. And I'll be back for more coming up. I didn't mention Magic Powder, man. That's such a cool move. I wish I mentioned that in the Mischievous and Miss Magius video, but I am bulk recording, so I also I just try to rush these a little bit to get them out. So yeah, Wish and Soul Absorber are really cool. Obviously, it's got good speed F, but Magic Powder is really cool. What that does is it makes the opponent pure psychic. It's previously had a Ring Signature move, and obviously as a Ghost type, Magic Powder is incredibly useful because you're fast as well, so you can outspeed Magic Powder, take the hit because they're not having stab on it anymore, and then you can attack them super effectively with a Ghost move. I would say it's better early game on like Mischievous type deal, but it's not like it's bad. I mean, you can use all sorts of funny techs in this hack, so because of Movie Learner and Teamlocked playstyle. So yeah, if you made it to the end, only 10 minutes, but still I appreciate you very much if you made it. Leave a comment down below if you did. Let me know what you think, all that good stuff. I swear to God, I'm gonna be annoyed if all the fucking comments are just pixelate boomers. Holy shit, holy shimoly, bro. Like, cool, man. It's literally at the end of the game. I don't know. That's a pet peeve of mine. When people like fixate on like end game options, it's like, yeah, it's cool, but I don't really give a fuck. Like, yes, it is cool, but I don't know. I like my guys to be, all my Pokemon to be much more multidimensional and like multifaceted and flexible. So yeah, nothing is a one-trick pony is the point. I mean, I try very hard to make that the case. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll be back for more coming up. Peace.